same, not the assignment. Yeah, so you can use the same link of attendance and feedback because the link is same. We are using the same link on daily basis. So you can use the same previous link also to mark your attendance and feedback also on this today's topic. Right. Also after 12:30, we will be sharing the assignment to you. So moving ahead, let's start with our topic. So before moving, just one thing, I think a lot of teachers have created a lot of projects on previous day. So I hope you all have created the projects. And if you have any doubt regarding the tomorrow's yesterday's session, like if you need any help, you just we have already shared the link, all the links over the mail. So ensure that when you are marking your attendance, your mail ID should be correct. Because what I saw yesterday, that mail IDs and some of the mail IDs are not correct. So due to which might be you are not able to receive the data. So I would like to request, please, while you are marking your attendance, make sure your email ID should be correct, your school ID and your personal ID. Right. And one more thing, if you are not able to, if you have received any uh, assignments over the mail, you can check your school's mail ID because we have shared the links on the school's mail ID also. So we will be sharing WhatsApp group in the chat soon. And my colleague is there who will be sending the WhatsApp group link and the attendance link in the chat box. So let's start with the topic. Just let me share my screen. And I'll share. So till now we have learned about ATL's AIMS portal, about dashboard. We have understand about the compliance. We have learned about what we say is justice. Yeah. So about the training material, we have understand like how to receive, how to get that data. Then we have also learned about MIT App Inventor. We have learned about let me share my screen. Just give me a moment. I'm sharing my screen, and so let me know. So I hope my screen is visible to all of you. So as I have already shared this PDF with everyone in the WhatsApp group also. Now here we have understand some sensors. Basically, previously we have understand about the electro components, the material, equipment material that is available in the lab, right? So now we will be going to understand some basic electronics components that are available, the sensors and other things, right? So just a second, I will be sharing one more presentations with you here. Yeah. So I hope my screen is now visible. Introduction to sensors and actuators. So, so what are sensors and what are actuators? Can anyone, you can use chat box uh, for, you can use your chat box for reply. I'm just So, so basically, if we talks about sensors, right? So already we know that we have a lot of sensors that are available in our ATL lab, right? But how a student can identify the sensors, which type of sensors is used, right? So sensors basically that sense something, right? So in our human body, we have sense organs, which sense different kinds of environmental changes. For example, if I say is my eyes, so my eyes is used to see outside environment. if any object is coming in front of me, a car is coming in front of me, so I can see that car from my eyes. So that is also a sense organ. Similarly, if there is a kind of sound and around in my around me, in my me मैं अगर मेरे आसपास में कोई आवाज आ रही है मैं उसको कान से डिटेक्ट सुन सकता हूँ. So I can hear the sound from my ear. So that is also a part of sense organ. Similarly, my skin, I can feel hot, cold. I can feel that temperature of any metal, right, with the help of skin. So मैं अपने हाथ से कोई भी गर्म ठंडी चीज को महसूस कर सकता हूँ उसको छू करके. That is also a sense, right? Then nose, I can smell, right? So tongue is also there, I can taste. So these are kind of, so you can sense what is actually happening in around you. So these are all sense organs, right? Similarly, in ATL lab we have some sensors which sense the outside environment. So I'll tell you how many sensors are there in ATL lab and what is the type, what is the function, what they actually do. हमारे लैब में कितने सेंसर्स हैं और उन सब लैब सेंसर्स का क्या काम होता है, वो किस काम आते हैं, अभी हम ये डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, राइट? सो सबसे पहले हम बात करते हैं सेंसर्स की. सो अगर आपने देखा होगा टीचर्स, यू कैन सी, आपके सामने तीन आपको पिक्चर दिखाई दे रही है, राइट? सो टीचर्स यू कैन सी थ्री पिक्चर्स ऑन योर स्क्रीन. द फर्स्ट वन इज द चॉकलेट, द सेकंड वन इज द लीफ, we call it a plant like neem plant, right? And the third one is sour, which is a kind of, lemon. So in every these three pictures, the taste, when we taste these three things, the taste is different. The one is sweeter, right? If we eat a chocolate, it's kind of sweeter. अगर हम chocolate खाते हैं आपको मीठा लगेगा. अगर आप पान का नीम का पत्ता अगर आप कोई टेस्ट करेगा तो उसको वो कड़वा लगेगा या वो खट्टा लगेगा नींबू पे. It feels like a sour when we eat lemon. So how my tongue sensing these things, because it's a kind of organ which is sensing the actual taste of these three picture, right? So this is how the sensor also detect. What actually sensor do, it sense the outside environment and then convert that thing into electrical signals, right? So in the next picture, so what actually happens when the tongue senses the taste and send the message to the brain, and the brain send the signal to the face. If you eat something sweet or sour, the tongue sends a signal to the brain that this is sweet or sour. Then the brain sends a signal to the face like how to react. सो टीचर्स मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ, अगर हम कोई मीठी चीज या खट्टी चीज खाते हैं तो क्या होता है, जो हमारी टंग है वो पहले ब्रेन को सिग्नल भेजता है और ब्रेन क्या करता है, उसको एनालाइज करके फेस को बताता है कि वो क्या चीज है, हम उस हिसाब से रिएक्ट करते हैं. तो सिमिलरली हमारे मशीन में भी ऐसे ही होता है. सेंसर्स सेंस करता है आउटसाइड इन्वायरमेंट को, वो सिग्नल में कन्वर्ट करता है उसको और वो भेजता है ब्रेन को, मतलब कि जो हमारा कंट्रोलर्स हैं, और कंट्रोलर उस पर प्रोग्रामिंग होती है, वो प्रोग्रामिंग के अकॉर्डिंग जो आउटपुट देना होता है, लाइट ऑन ऑफ करनी है, मोटर चलानी है, तो वो काम करता है. So teachers, I'm saying कि when the tongue tastes the things, it sends a signal to the brain. Similarly, our sensors that are available in the ATL lab senses the outside environment. Either is there any kind of rain is coming or wind is blowing, or kind of, different parameters are there. So the sensors converts the and outside environmental changes and convert into the in signal, and those signals were sent to the brain like microcontroller, Arduino, or Raspberry Pi, Node MCU. It can be any brain, and those signals goes through brain to the output part. Output part means motor. For example, let's suppose there's a fire, right? So our fire sensor will detect the heat and it sends a signal of high voltage or on or one, we can say in electronics term. So it's a sends a signal to the microcontroller that there's a fire. Then microcontroller will turn on the fan so that the fire we can control, that it can control on the fire, right? So this is how it actually works. सो टीचर्स मैं ये बोल रहा था, अगर जैसे सेंसर्स होते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, जैसे कहीं आग लगी है तो सेंसर आग को डिटेक्ट करते हैं और एक सिग्नल भेजते हैं माइक्रो कंट्रोलर को, आर्डिनो को, कि यहाँ पे आग है. देन आर्डिनो क्या करता है, वो फैन को चालू कर देता है सिग्नल भेज के और उस पर कंट्रोल कर लेते हैं. सो दिस इज हाउ एक्चुअली कंप्लीट प्रोसेस वर्क. तो इस तरह से पूरा जुड़ा हुआ है सेंसर एंड एक्चुएटर, इसको हम बोलते हैं सेंसर ने सेंस किया, एक्चुएटर ने वैसा परफॉर्म किया। ठीक है, तो ये एक बेसिक फंडा है हमारे प्रोजेक्ट्स में जब हम करते हैं, यही पूरा फिनोमिना होता है जिसके अराउंड हम घूम रहे हैं, प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाते हैं, राइट। सो दिस इज वी आर एक्चुअली रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड दिस कॉन्सेप्ट कि सेंसर इज सेंसिंग समथिंग, brain is doing its work, sending commands, and the motor is actually performing. So motor can be an output, right? So by this activity, we can understand sensor and actuators how they work in a significant in a signaling and transferring the message from sensor to microcontroller and then microcontroller to the actuator. So I hope now you have understand what is the difference between a sensor and a actuator. So here you can see the clear difference between a sensor and an actuator. So sensor is a kind of sophisticated device that responds to some type of input from the environment. मतलब सेंसर क्या करता है कि environment में कोई भी अगर changes हो रहे हैं उसको detect करता है, such as heat, light, motion, temperature, pressure, moisture. So these are some different type of environmental changes. Either it can be a heat, it can be a light from like sunlight, right? Then motion is if my sensor detects any motion in the room, right? Temperature rise or temperature low, then pressure, moisture. So these all are the changes that are happening in the environment, and our sensor detects those thing those parameters, and it converts these parameters into signals, and then it can be measured through electrically. So सेंसर क्या करते हैं, जितने भी प्रेशर चेंजेस आते हैं, जैसे हीट है, टेम्परेचर है, मॉइस्चर है, या फिर हमारा लाइट है, इन सबको डिटेक्ट करता है और इसको कन्वर्ट करता है इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल्स में। इस इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल्स को फिर हमारे आर्डिनो समझ पाता है। So now if we talk about actuator, so actuator is a device that produces a motion by converting the electrical energy into some kind of mechanical energy. So for example, wheels, piston, cylinder, or motor, or a light. So electric, what actuator do actually? Actuator connects the signals, pulse which it receives from brain, and convert into some mechanical work. Like for example, wheels or piston, how it moves actually, cylinder or motion, motors, motor rotates when it receives a signal. तो एक्यूटर क्या होते हैं? एक्यूटर एक काइंड ऑफ आउटपुट डिवाइस होते हैं जो हमारे इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी सिग्नल्स पे काम करते हैं, और वो हमें आउटपुट प्रोवाइड करते हैं। जैसे मोटर्स होती हैं जो चलती हैं इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल्स पे, जब जब सिग्नल्स आएंगे तभी मोटर ऑन होगी, राइट? सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एक्यूएटर। नाउ we will be going to discuss some types of sensors over here. So the first one is PIR sensor. So how many of you know about this PIR sensor? You can raise your hand also if you knows about this PIR motion sensor. So I think you have visited in a bank, right, or in an office. When you comes in an office, the automatic in an empty room basically. So what happens? Automatically the light turns on, right? Whenever you visited in I think you have seen in the offices also. Now in smart home we have this PIR motion in our home. Even you can create this kind of projects at your school. Like if there's any movement in front of the sensor, it detects your movement, and then it creates a signal, that the sensor will create a signal that I have detected a motion, and this signal will goes to in the brain of a controller like microcontroller or Arduino, and Arduino will respond according to that. So by using this PIR sensor, I think you have seen this PIR sensor in your lab. So this is a kind of motion detector sensor which detects the motion of any moving object, right? So inside, if we you can open this cap also. So in this sensor, you can connect your Arduino board, and you can place this motion sensor in a room, right? And when you do the programming, so how this work? It will detect the motion of any moving object and sends a signal to the microcontroller, and you can connect a alarm or a buzzer with that microcontroller. So it's a kind of simple program where when motion detector detects any motion, it creates a alarm. So it can be a burglar alarm kind of thing. So टीचर्स आप इसे एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट बना सकते हैं जहाँ पे आपका जो मोशन सेंसर है, ये किसी मोशन को डिटेक्ट करता है एम्प्टी रूम में, या कोई पर्सन अगर आता है बैंक में या कोई कोई रूम में, तो ये उसको डिटेक्ट कर लेगा, और उसके बाद ये अलार्म अलार्म बजाएगा। अलार्म इन द सेंस बजर, तो बजर इज काइंड ऑफ आउटपुट डिवाइस। तो इससे हम ऐसे हम प्रोजेक्ट्स बना सकते हैं इस हम सेंसर से। So we can create such type of alarm based projects using this sensor. Then we have ultrasonic sensor. So I think I know you all know about ultrasonic sensor. Ultrasonic is basically works on the principle of ultrasonic waves. In fifth class, we have learned about the bat creates signals by detected spray, है ना, जो हमारे बैट होते हैं चमगादड़, वो क्या करते हैं, सिग्नल भेजते हैं जिससे वो सामने कोई भी उनका ऑब्जेक्ट है, प्रे या कोई भी चीज उसको उसको डिटेक्ट करना है, तो उसे रिफ्लेक्ट होकर वापस वो सिग्नल आता है। तो सिमिलर वे में ये हमारा अल्ट्रासोनिक सेंसर भी वैसे ही काम करता है। अगर आप इसमें देखेंगे, इसके दो आईज जो आप देख रहे हैं, ये दो आईज, एक होता है ट्रांसमीटर, एक होता है रिसीवर। सो वन इज अ ट्रांसमीटर एंड वन अनदर इज अ रिसीवर। एंड if you can see properly the pin description also, I'll tell the pin description. There is a one is VCC, another is a trigger, third is echo, and fourth is a ground. So VCC means you have to connect positive pin to this pin, and ground means you have to connect negative pin, minus pin on this. Now these two pins are for sending signal and receiving the signal. So by using this sensor, you can detect the distance. The first thing, you can detect the distance of any object. So you can create projects like distance measuring device, or right. So these kind of projects you can made using this sensor. Right now, next is we have soil moisture sensor. So soil moisture sensor is basically, I think you have seen in basically I have in ATL marathon competitions also, students create projects like harvesting or agriculture based projects, where they used this kind of sensor. In your lab, you can see this kind of sensor. So this is called soil moisture sensor. Basically, it detects the moisture level of a soil. ये सेंसर क्या काम करता है, मॉइस्चर लेवल को डिटेक्ट करता है, मिट्टी में कितनी नमी है। अगर आप उसमें पानी डालोगे तो एक सिग्नल जनरेट होगा जो ब्रेन को बताएगा, आर्डिनो को बताएगा कि जमीन बहुत नमी है, अब पानी मत डालिए। So teachers, this sensor is basically used to detect the moisture level of a sensor. If let's suppose you add water in the soil, so this sensor will send a signal to the brain that this soil is now wet and please do not turn off the motor. So in the agriculture projects where we call it smart project, where when the soil moisture detects the moisture of a soil and motors turned on and off automatically. This is just because of this sensor. This sensor sends a signal to the uh, brain. So even if you want to make this project, everything is available on the internet. Like you want to do a circuit diagram, you want code, you want to do programming, everything is on internet. You just have to Google it. Even there are a lot of students, those who develop projects, and they also develop tutorials also, and they upload it on the YouTube. So in the YouTube, I can see a lot of youngsters, those who are creating those projects, and they are uploading those projects in the YouTube. So टीचर्स आप यूट्यूब पे भी ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाना सीख सकते हैं। बच्चे आजकल यूट्यूब पे ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट्स बना के उसको अपलोड करते हैं। स्टेप बाय स्टेप इंस्ट्रक्शंस की कोडिंग पूरा आपको वहाँ पे मिल जाएगा। बस आपको एक आर्डिनो कनेक्ट कैसे करना है, प्रोग्राम कैसे अपलोड करना है, ये आपको आना चाहिए। Then we have DHT11 sensor. So this sensor you have seen in your lab, DHT11, the blue color. So this sensor is basically used to detect the moisture in the room, humidity in the room, right? Uh, yeah, attendance we will be sharing after some time. Teachers attendance will be sharing. I see in the chat there's a lot of questions coming for attendance. So please be on hold. We will be sharing attendance after at 11:45. We will be sharing. After every 15 minutes, we will be sharing the attendance. I would like to request, please, you can stay over the call. Now, now GPS module. So already we have covered GPS module in the our last session about how GPS work. So it's a, as you all know, it's a GPS is basically universally we are using, and it works on coordination of the time, right? So I think all we know about GPS. So I'm not going to cover much. I'm not going to take or talk about much about it. Then we have water level sensor. This is also a kind of sensor that used, or level sensor we used to detect the level of substance that can flow. Right. This is also available in the lab, and you can create such projects over there. Then this is a water flow sensor. This is a main component actually. It's not a pump. It's a water flow. You can control, you can check the flow of water. Let's suppose you are making a project. You want to make a project for agriculture purpose, or somewhere you want to make a project based on water. अगर आप कोई वाटर से रिलेटेड प्रोजेक्ट बनाना चाहते हैं, जहाँ पे आप वाटर के फ्लो को कंट्रोल करना चाहते हैं, कंट्रोल इन द सेंस उसको डिटेक्ट करना चाहते हैं, तो आप इसे डिटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. सो वाटर फ्लो सेंसर कंसिस्ट ऑफ प्लास्टिक वॉल्व एंड वाटर कैन पास थ्रू दिस ब्लैक pipes. So a water rotor is there fixed inside this with a sensor. So there's a sensor and a rotor is there inside this, which measures the water flow. राइट. सो इसमें बेसिकली होता क्या है, एक सेंसर लगा है और एक मोटर रोटर लगा हुआ है. जब पानी इसके अंदर जाता है तो रोटर मूव करते हैं, जिससे वो उसके फ्लो को काउंट कर पाता है कि कितनी स्पीड से पानी फ्लो कर रहा है. राइट. So when the water flows through the valve, it rotates the rotor inside it, and then this signals will generate. And those through those signals, we can see the analog values like how much the speed of the rotor is inside, and then we can check like this is the speed of the water. So टीचर जितनी स्पीड से मोटर रोटर घूमता है इसके अंदर, उसी स्पीड के हिसाब से सिग्नल्स जनरेट होते हैं, एनालॉग सिग्नल्स जनरेट होते हैं. और एनालॉग सिग्नल्स के हिसाब से हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई कर पाते हैं कि पानी की स्पीड क्या है, और इसी सेंसर से हम लोग किसी वाटर को फ्लो कंट्रोल कंट्रोल कर पाते हैं. राइट. द नेक्स्ट इज आईआर सेंसर. आईआर सेंसर इज वेरी फेमस सेंसर. आई थिंक आप लोगों ने इस पे काम भी किया होगा, या आपने कभी पहले टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग अटेंड भी की होगी. यू हैव वर्कड ऑन दिस आईआर सेंसर. So IR is basically infrared sensor, and infrared sensor is basically I think you have seen in the competition there's a kind of line following robot, right? Line following robot is there. So in that line following robot, we the students use this kind of sensors IR. So it detects the red, the black or white, right? So basically it works on there is two diode. I will show you. There is two diode. One is sends us light signal and other receives the signal. One sends a light signal and other receives the signals. So the time how much it takes, right, on behalf on that it work, right. So even you can use this IR sensor in a line following robot. In competitions also students use this sensor. Now, after this, we have LDR. So LDR is, as I already we have discussed, LDR is a light dependent resistor. Light dependent resistor is basically you have seen on the on in the street, the government use smart street lights, where when it's evening time, when it's the sun sets, automatically the intensity of the light goes down, natural light. And then what happened? Automatic, the street lights gets on. Why? Because there is no button in that, and automatic lights turn on in the night, and in the morning by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. the light goes off automatic. Why? Because there is a sensor which detects the natural light, right, and it works accordingly. So this is called light dependent resistor, LDR sensor. Right. So let me just a second. Yeah. So the next we have LDR, and even you can there's a variable, there's a potentiometer by which you can adjust the intensity also, right? If you want to make it more sensitive, right? If let's suppose if you put your hand in front of the sensor like this, your light will turn on. So the main concept is not to turn on the light on and off. The main concept is ki when the input is sunlight, when the sunlight is there or not there, output is coming. So you can even turn on the motor also, right? You cannot, not even the light, you want to ना आप खाली light ही नहीं जला सकते, you can also turn on the motor. Means because if we are receiving a signal from the LDR sensor, ki sunlight is there present or not, a signal is generating. On that signal you can control anything, right? You can even turn on the fan, turn on the motor, turn on the buzzer, So this is what it basically depends on our idea what actually want to do, what is the actual problem we are facing. So we are facing like we don't have we do in the night time we want to glow a light, so we turn on the light. But if I want to turn on the motor, I can attach a motor and I can turn on the motor also. So it depends on the requirement what actually you want to do with that prototype. So same also in the marathon, ATL marathon, the national level competition. If you also want to create such type of projects, you can use such type of sensors. Then we have sound sensor. Sound sensor is defined as a module that detects sound waves through its intensity and convert into electrical energy. So as I told you that whenever we can hear sound from our ears, right? This is also a kind of sense of organ. Now what happens when someone is talking in front of me and right, I can if I have closed my eyes and someone is talking in front of inside beside me, I can identify that someone is calling me. Why? Because of my ears. Similarly, we have such sensor in the lab through which we can detect the sound. Right. So you can use this project as a security purpose also. Like if this sensor hear any noise or any sound, then it will create a alarm kind of right. So you can use this sound this sensor as a security purpose. So it basically it's a module that converts the sound waves in intensity into electrical signals, and those signals will be received by the brain, that is Arduino. Then we have the pressure sensor. So this is a pressure sensor which works when someone press this sensor, and it converts electrical energy. So when you apply a force on this sensor, when some, let's suppose the students have made a project, like if the car is running on a road and they have assembled, they have fixed these sensors inside the road, like right, or any walking, or any walking table or anywhere they can fix this sensor where the people are walking, and when someone press this sensor, right, this will generate electricity, a pulse, and these pulse can be even you can store those pulses in the capacitor, right? So this is what this we can use the sensor. Now the next is the flex sensor. The flex sensor is also a kind of good sensor actually. We I have seen there's a student who made a project for the people, those who are blind or those who are not able to express their feelings, right? They're not able to say. So what they have designed, there's a student from Jammu. So they designed a project where they use a gloves, hand gloves. Now what they have done, they use five flex sensor. So there's a school, KV Chenani. So there's a student last year, and even he presented his model in NEP, National Technology Week. In to there he was invited by National Technology Week organization, and PM Modi was there on that time. So the student showcased his model where he used a gloves, and in the glove there are five flex sensors. One flexor is attached on this finger, one another is on fixed in this finger, and this is how he fixed five flex sensors on his hand. Now whenever he bends one flex sensor, a signal will create. Because how flex sensor actually work, flex sensors, when you bend the flex sensor, it creates a signal. Right. So whenever this student bend his flex sensor, it creates a signal, and according to signal, what actually he want, this will be displayed on a display. There's a display LCD 7 of 16 by 2 LCD display was there. So whenever if he bend his one finger, so this means the student wants water. That guy wants water. If he bend two signal, that means he want to call someone, or right. So that project actually he developed. So टीचर्स मैं ये बोल रहा था कि एक बच्चा है जम्मू एंड कश्मीर से, केवी चनानी से, जिसने एक प्रोजेक्ट बनाया था एनईपी इवेंट में। तो उसने एक फ्लैक्स सेंसर्स को यूज किया था। फ्लैक्स सेंसर होता क्या है, एक प्लास्टिक का एक सेंसर होता है, उसको बेंड करोगे तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पल्स जनरेट होती है, एक एनालॉग सिग्नल जनरेट होता है। तो उस बच्चे ने अपने हाथ में पांचों उंगलियों में फ्लैक्स सेंसर ग्लव्स में लगाए थे। तो जब भी वो ग्लव्स को बेंड करता था तो उससे एक सिग्नल जनरेट होता था। तो उस सिग्नल से क्या होता था कि बच्चा मान लीजिए नॉट एबल टू एक्सप्रेस देयर फीलिंग, राइट? तो वहां पे क्या है कि वहां से वो अपने फिंगर्स को बेंड करके दे कैन सेंड अ कमांड लाइक व्हाट एक्चुअली ही वांट टू कन्वे, वो क्या बताना चाहता है, ही वांट वाटर, ही वांट टू कॉल समवन। तो वो अपने फिंगर्स को बेंड करके फ्लेक्स सेंसर की हेल्प से उसको वो बुला रहा था। तो सिमिलरली एक ये हमारे जैसे केवी एक ज्योतिपुरम है जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, वहां पे एक बच्चे ने सेम ही प्रोजेक्ट बनाया था जिसको उसको प्राइज भी मिला था इस कंपटीशन, इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए, राइट? सो हमारे ऐसे बच्चे हैं केवी ज्योतिपुरम या केवी हमारे so वहाँ पे मैंने प्रोजेक्ट्स देखे हैं एक्चुअली। so there are a lot of schools those who are working, right? So this is actually a flex sensor which was used. When you bend, it will create an analog signal, and these signals can be measured by Arduino, and Arduino can send a signal to LCD display also. Okay, this much of analog voltage I am receiving, or right? So this is how actually this works. Now, the next is the color sensor. So what is color sensor? Color sensor is basically used to detect the colors. If you have seen that I have eyes, I can see, oh, this is white color, this is black color, this is red color. I can see the traffic light, right? In the traffic light, I can see through my eyes. It's a red, I have to stop. It's green, I have to go, or yellow, I have to wait. Fine. So this I can see from my eyes, and I'm sending my signal to my brain. Okay, now what I have to do, if it's a red, I have to stop my car. So I'm stopping my car, that is an output actuator. तो इन द सिमिलर वे वी हैव अ कलर सेंसर दैट रिकॉग्नाइज कलर्स। सो टीचर्स, मैं ये बोल रहा था, हम अपनी आंखों से अगर ट्रैफिक लाइट में देखें तो हमारे पास तीन कलर्स हैं, रेड, येलो और ग्रीन, जिससे हम ट्रैफिक लाइट में अपनी कार को स्टॉप, ग्रीन, होल्ड या उसको हम चला सकते हैं, बस हम कलर्स को देख के। सिमिलरली हमारे पास एक कलर सेंसर है जिसकी हेल्प से हम कलर्स को डिटेक्ट कर पाते हैं, सेंसर्स की हेल्प से, कि रेड कलर है, ब्लैक कलर है, हम उसको डिटेक्ट करके कोई एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट बना सकते हैं ब्लाइंड पर्सन के लिए इवन, कि वो भी इसको सेंसर को यूज करके डिटेक्ट कर सकता है, कोई भी कलर को मैं देख सकता है बाय यूजिंग हिज सेंसर। जैसे हमारी एक ब्लाइंड स्टिक होती थी जिससे हम देखते थे कि हमारा ऑब्जेक्ट कितना दूर है स्टिक से, जो कि ये बच्चे बहुत बनाते हैं प्रोजेक्ट। सिमिलरली आप इस सेंसर को भी इनेबल कर सकते हो उस स्टिक में, जहाँ पे आप कलर को भी डिटेक्ट कर सकते हो। दिस इज कॉल्ड आरजीबी स्केल। इट एक्चुअली वर्क्स ऑन आरजीबी स्केल, रेड, ग्रीन एंड ब्लू, राइट? दिस इज द कलर सेंसर, ये आपके लैब में अवेलेबल है, दिस इज अवेलेबल इन योर लैब। Now, this is one of the useful sensor, raindrop sensors. So I think you have seen this kind of sensors. Whenever a rain drop, whenever we drop a water droplet on this sensor, this is a plate actually. This is a plate. I think you have seen this sensor in your lab. This is a plate, and there's a module which helps you to connect Arduino board with the sensor, right? So whenever you drop water in this plate, so there you can see there's a copper aluminum strips is there, which is going like this. So when you drop a water, these there is a kind of the sensor sends a signal, oh, there is a water outside, so it detects the water droplets, right? And by using this, it gives you a output either in the form of alarm, either it will turn on the light, or it depends on what type of output you want, right? So this is how water droplet sensor work. So now you can see on the screen, like it is also a module tool for detecting rain detection. We can use easily, we can use the rain detection, right? Then the next we have some kind of other sensors. I think we were talking about this is, I think most of you know about this MQT sensor. So as I in the previous session also, I was discussing about that in the ATL lab we have around 7 8 MQ sensors, and it depends on which type of gas it is detecting, right? For example, let's suppose there's a methane gas, so we have some different kind of sensor, right? There's argon gas, we have some different type of sensor. So we have different sensors. Now the main thing is you have to search by their unique ID, like what is the name of the sensor, and for whom or for which project we can use it, right? In the LPG gas detection sensor, right, there's one more sensor which used to detect for LPG. right? So this is also a kind of electrochemical sensor which converts the gases into electrical form. So it detects gases and then it converts those signals into electrical form, and then you can understand like what type of gas is it, right? So this is also a sensor which students use in their projects. For example, you have heard about alcohol level detector, like so it detects the alcohol, or for sanitizer also you can just spray a sanitizer over here, it will give you a signal, right? So I think most of have you how many of you have seen this kind of sensor in your lab? Can you raise your hand? I just want to see uh, in your lab you have seen this kind of sensor. Okay, Amit Saxena sir has raised his hand. uh, okay, I can see Ravikant sir is also there. Then we have, I think you have turned on the camera. Great, great. So I think most of you have seen this sensor in your lab. Oh, there are a lot of hands actually raised now. Right. But how many of you feel always confusion? कितने लोगों को confusion होता है when you work with this sensor कि ये कौन सा sensor है, किस काम आता है? And student also come to us कि sir, what type of sensor is this and how can I use? I want to make a alcohol detector, but I'm not able to identify which sensor is this. This is a basically a common uh, challenge whenever we work with those sensors, right? So on the Google, even you can write the name of the sensor and you can see, okay, this sensor work for which purpose, why we can use this sensor for which purpose, right? So you can detect. I hope now this one is clear to all of you. So before moving ahead, teachers, I would like to request those who have joined just recently, you can mark your attendance. I will request my colleague to share the attendance also, because I think some of the teachers are requesting me personally to share the attendance. Yeah, definitely. So Rohan, please share the attendance link again in the chat box. Yeah. So now my next, I'll be taking just a second. I'll share my screen again. Sure. Let me check. Why is not screen sharing? Okay, now it's working. So types of sensor. So this is what the sensor is used. Now in the next session, we are going to connect those sensors with Arduino, and we are going to learn how to program these sensor, how to take values from these sensors, and how to create output also by using Arduino. So before coding, it's important to understand the working of sensors, because without knowing the purpose of the sensor, we are not able to do any coding. Let's suppose, I will give an example. There's an ATL marathon, right? And students have different ideas. Sir, I want to create this. I want to make a agriculture based product. I want to make a biological based prototype. I want to make a prototype which is used for aerodynamics. But the thing is, if we don't know about the sensors, if we don't know which sensor will be compatible for this project, so we will not be able to design any prototype, right? अगर हमें नहीं पता होगा कि I'll convey this same in Hindi also for the teachers, कि अगर हमें नहीं पता होगा हमारे लैब में सेंसर्स का यूज क्या है, ये सेंसर किस काम आता है, तब तक हम बच्चों को हेल्प नहीं कर पाएंगे प्रोटोटाइप बनाने में. कोई बच्चा चाहता है कि मुझे एग्रीकल्चर बेस्ड प्रोटोटाइप बनाना है, मैं उसमें ये चीज लगाना चाहता हूँ, मैं उसमें मॉइस्चर को डिटेक्ट करना चाहता हूँ, बट जब तक हमें नहीं पता होगा मॉइस्चर को डिटेक्ट कैसे करने वाला सेंसर कौन सा है, तब तक हम प्रोटोटाइप नहीं बना पाएंगे. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट before creating or developing a prototype to understand the value of sensor. I think we have more than 300 of type of sensors, actuators are available in the lab. So the first thing is understand the working, what is the which sensor is used for which purpose. Parallelly, there is a specification book also, like if you want to know about the concepts, like the parameters about the sensor, like on how much volt it work, what is the output, what is the input, what is the cycle duration. So all that technical terms you can open the specification part and you can understand from there. Sometimes what happen, there is a LED which works on 0. 0 0.8 volt or 0.9 volt, but we don't know about this specification. What we do, or students do, they use a 9 volt battery or 12 volt battery, they directly connect a LED with that. So what will the result? The LED will get fused. Why? Because we don't know about the specification of that particular LED or a sensor. So this is important. Before, when we are working with sensors, we have to understand the specification. So you can open a kind of, it's a chart for each sensor we have, right? So you can open the chart first, read out all the instruction, why, uh, for which purpose the sensor is used, how much voltage it requires, what is the current, right? So all these things we have to understand. What happened without reading these instructions or manuals? What is the result comes out? Ki, sir, my this sensor is not working because I use high power of voltage and now it's get fused. So this is the actual result comes. I have often seen in the labs this kind of issues are coming because we don't know the specification of that proper sensor, right? So let's move to the next one, that is capacitive touch sensor. So it's already names says capacitive touch. Like you can touch those plates and kind of capacitance, or you can difference generates that sends a signal. Like in the mobile phone also, I'll give an example of mobile phone. Whenever you are using a mobile phone, let's suppose there are four buttons, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just a second, I'll turn my camera. So yeah, so this is my mobile phone, right? So I hope now you can all see my mobile phone over here. But let's suppose there are four buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4. So whenever I touch any button, how my mobile identifies कि I have touched this option. मेरे मोबाइल में अगर चार बटन है, अगर मैं टच करता हूँ तो वो मोबाइल कैसे डिटेक्ट कर पाता है कि मैंने बटन ए क्लिक किया है, बटन 2 क्लिक किया, बटन 3 क्लिक किया, बटन 4 क्लिक किया? बिकॉज देर इज अ काइंड ऑफ कैपेसिटिव सेंसर जो क्या करता है कि जब आप आपकी जो फिंगर्स को टच करती है, व्हेन योर फिंगर टच द स्क्रीन, देयर इज अ काइंड ऑफ डिफरेंस क्रिएट्स in your hand and in your mobile phone. The difference of voltage generates a signal ki, oh, this person touched on this area, on this part of mobile phone, like on this corner he touched on this part. So there's a voltage difference create, right? On behalf of that, it generates a signal, right? Similarly, in capacitive touch sensor also, this it works on same principle. There's a kind of voltage difference occurs when you touch that part and it sends a signal. Now we have the next one is LM35 temperature measuring device. So this is one of the best sensor which you can use for fire alarm, or you can also measure the temperature. Like let's suppose you have put it inside a room or inside near a burner, right? So when the temperature goes up or down, this sensor detects the difference of the temperature change, and it sends a signal to the brain, to the Arduino, that there's a difference of temperature. And it also tells how much it's in the terms of Celsius or Fahrenheit. If you want to make a temperature, a device that detects temperature of a room or anywhere, right? So you can use this sensor which helps you to measure the temperature. So it sends a signal, and this signal is in the form of analog signals, or kind of voltage is there, analog voltage. I think all of you knows about analog and digital, because I don't think this is a part that I should cover, what is analog signal and digital signals. But if you need this also, I will cover, right? So this sensor sends a analog signal in terms of a sine wave kind of signal is there, which tells us the temperature is rising or decreasing, right? Now after this, we have GSM module. So GSM module is, as I already know, GSM or GPRS that we have discussed also, like in GPS or GRS, GSM. This module is used to send SMS. So there is an option for, no, wait. Let me wait just a second. Let me adjust my screen. Yeah. So this device also used for making communication between a mobile device or a prototype. So you can make a communication, like if you have a prototype where you want to establish a communication between a mobile phone, like if you want to send some signals, so you can use this GSM module over there. Then we have pulse rate monitor, which is, I think, a lot of students used this sensor to measure heartbeat. I think in any in the competitions or in the whenever you visit in a competition or an exhibition, you have seen such type of projects where you can measure the heartbeat through Arduino. So what is the sensor, which sensor was used over there? That is a pulse rate monitor. So this is how it looks like actually. Pulse rate is basically used to detect your pulse waves. So there are three pins, positive, negative, and the third one is for output signal. So whenever you touch those sensors, it sends the signal, the analog signal to the Arduino, right? And this is how you can monitor the pulse rate. Then RFID. This is the one of the major, I think, if I can say, one of the best sensor which is actually using in our day-to-day life. How many, I think, teachers, you are using RFID in your schools also for marking your attendance, or for whenever we visit in an office, there's a RFID card. We have to just touch our card and it mark our present, right? In the metros also, there's a card. If you can see, there's a kind of card uh, in schools, but some of the schools students are using for marking their attendance. But in metros, whenever you have traveled in a metro, you have seen that there's a card. When you touch the card, the gates open, right? So there's a kind of electronic chip uh, inside this card. So that card works on electromagnetic waves, right? So this is a concept of science, right? When two coils comes together, and in the first coil, if we applied a kind of voltage or current, so what will happen in the second coil? Automatically it induce electromagnetic waves, right? So on the same principle, this card work, right? So you can use by programming, if you want to make a smart home automation, where let's suppose you have 4 5 keys, but one is a master key in which you have done the programming. So whenever you touch all the 5 cards on the lock system, it will only the single one card will work where you have put a code, right? So this is how we can use. So this is the general, I have seen this, like this card, or this RFID card, or in a lot of times, and a lot of in the different fields actually. So this is also, I think you have seen in your lab, this white and green color ka card. Just let me make it a little bit zoom. So this white and green color ka card you have used. So this is the actual RFID where you have to do a programming, and these two are kind of keys, right? So you have to touch this key, and after when your signal matches or the code match, the output, you can see an output, right? So this is and the best part is it's very easy to create what you need. You need to have spend some time over there. As I already told you, there are a lot of tutorials which you can work like, right? So now these are some basic sensors which we are using in the ATL lab. Right. Along with that, we have a lot of sensors are there which we have in the ATL lab, but these are some major sensors. But yes, I will be covering some more sensors over here. Now let's talk about actuators. So actuators is basically, as I already told you, actuator is we used for when we want to create some output. Output in the sense, if I receive a signal from my RFID, or if I receive a signal from my pulse width, pulse rate monitor, or if I receive a signal from gas sensors, then definitely I want to do some action also. Let's suppose I detect some LPG smell, right? My sensor detects some LPG smell. Now, now in my smart project, what I have done, I have attached a sensor nearby my cylinder, a gas cylinder, LPG cylinder. So let's suppose if there is any leakage, so the sensor detects the leakage, and then those signals, this sensor will convert those signals, those gaseous parameters into signals. Then this signal will comes to my Arduino, and what the Arduino will do, Arduino sends a signal to the buzzer. Some LPG gas detected, le- let's make an alarm, or let's create an alarm, or even let's sends a signal to the owner's mobile phone through GSM, through this GSM, right? This Arduino will send a signal to my mobile phone, the gas leakage has been detected, right? So this is how the complete project work. But for the actuator is a kind of, which sending a signal. So let's discuss some more actuators over here. So as I already told you, actuators are kind of motors or any output device. So here are some actuators or motors. Like the first is water pump module. As I already told you, water pump is basically used. We use this water pump module in agriculture based projects. So if you want to use, there is no need to send any signal. There are only two wires, positive and negative. So whenever a signal send or signal sends, the Arduino sends a signal to turn on the motor, that this motor will directly gets on. So there is no requirement of any third wire. Similarly for this BO motor or DC motor also, this actuators give you a mechanical output. So you can see this is a L-shaped BO motor. As we have discussed, this L-shaped BO motor is used if you are designing a kind of mechanical robotic arm, or you are designing a kind of moving robot, right? Over there, you can use this BO motor to create such type of prototypes. Now, the next is we have DC motor. Similarly, you can turn on off DC motors when there is any signal from the brain. This DC motors will turn on and off. Servo motor, we have discussed, it rotates 90 degree clockwise, like positive or negative. We can rotate these motors. So this motor we used in smart dustbin, or even if you are making any robotic arm, you can use that also. uh, Now this is a stepper motor. Okay, one question from all of you: have you seen? I'll enable the chat box also. So this question for all the teachers. BO motor and DC motor different. Yeah, Amit sir, just a second. I'll answer you. So have you seen this DC motor, this kind of motor in your lab, this stepper motor, or if you have seen, where? Yes. Okay. But where? You have seen this motor, but where? I think you are texting me directly. Okay. Uh-huh. I think a lot of teachers answered me right. In the ATL lab, they have seen this stepper motor in the toys. I have made a human following robot. Great. No, okay. Robotic arm. Okay, so this motor actually we have seen, and even if you are in your lab, you can see right now. This is a stepper motor, and this we used in, basically we have used in our 3D printer. Why we use this stepper motor in our 3D printer? Does anyone know this? Why only this motor we use? Because we have a lot of motors there in the ADL lab. Like we have stepper motor, servo motor. We have a lot of motors, but why only the stepper motor? Why not the servo? As an actuator, if we talks about sensor and actuator, so why only this stepper motor we use in 3D printer? Any answer? Right, wrong?